Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Retake. It's been a while. My name is, of course, is Alex Shinkari Erdenberger, your host, and with me today is Christian Saxby Gillespie, as he has told me. Hasn't been a soft G.
Hello.
I think I've been pronouncing it wrong the entire time, and he just told me that I've been doing it wrong. So, just an entire season of episodes where I've been pronouncing his name wrong. No big deal. And today,
Pronounced it wrong on my high school graduation.
that's wow, that's bad. All right, and also joining us today for the first time in a long time, Jared Warnke. Yay! He's over here. He can't see it, but I'm pointing to his little box in the overlay.
Hello, everybody. It's been a while.
Yeah. So today marks a really great day for Retake because this is the first time in a long time that we have all three people our video. Isn't that great?
Working.
Oh my God!
Difficulties.
No technical difficulties yet. Knock on wood. I'm knocking on wood.
Yeah, right.
All right. So we are going to be talking about Worlds today because we have some huge news. Huge news. Huge. We now have the official Worlds group stage drawings, and we're going to be talking about each group individually today. No huge news happening. We do have some, talk about roster changes with who is it, Dardoch and Lorlo, I think. I
I
think
think it was just Dardoch.
I think it was it was just Dardoch.
It's just Dardoch, not
Yeah.
Orlo. He's sticking around.
Yeah. That's most of the news. I think it's Dardoch and then the big coach change from Fnatic right before playoffs, which was very weird, But that's our news. Really impromptu, just kind of hey, this has been floating around for a couple weeks, so you guys probably already know about it. So we're gonna jump right into our big segment for today. We're gonna be talking about world draws, and these are very, very important news for a lot of people. So the drawings for the World Champions were last week, and we're here to add our own analysis to how the draws went for certain teams. And first, we're going to discuss the groups themselves, how they feel about for different teams, and then we're going to move into our actual predictions for how the outcomes for that. And for that, I did a little bit of bonus work so you guys can see a little bit of a better visual of what our picks will look like. But no, before we get to predictions, let's actually talk about the groups, and we're going to start with Group A. I believe Group A has shoot. You know what? I forgot this already. It was G2.
Rocks Tigers, CLG, G2 Esports, and Albus Knox.
Yeah. I'm gonna really quickly just refresh my memory. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and with that, we are going to. All right, so we're going to start with Group A, and we are going to start with Christian. Tell me what you think about Group A.
Out of Group A, the only interesting matchup that I can see is G2 versus CLG.
No.
Rocks Tigers is far and away the favorite of the group, and as of right now, they're the best team in the world. And Albus, there's no wild card like Pain Gaming from last year. They're just way worse, and all the other teams have gotten really better, so I don't expect any upsets there. That leaves G2 and CLG. I think it's favored 60-40 and 60-40, 70-30. I know Jared feels the opposite, but that's why we're here.
Yep.
I do think CLG can pull an upset. The reason I think it favors G2 is because teams that beat G2, they beat Perks and Expect. No one will touch Sven and Mithy in that group. I don't even think Prey or Gorilla would even do that well against, or would beat them. So, but I don't think Huhi is good enough to, individually beat Perks. And I don't think Darshan, not in his current form, is good enough to beat Expect. So
Right. So then we're going to move over to Jared. Jared, tell me what you think about this Group A.
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious that Rocks are the clear favorite in this
Yeah.
year. And so everyone's really contending for a second seed spot. I think it is going to come down to CLG and G2, but I think CLG are actually going to be able to take the number 2 spot.
Oh.
So in the third place match from that we saw from CLG against Immortals, they had a really good game set. They went to 5 games. It was actually really close up until the fifth game where they just kind of got tilted and lost. But they've shown a lot of growth from the regular season going into playoffs and even in that third place match. So I think a really good boot camp would help them out in terms of kind of redialing back to that MSI performance.
Yeah.
For Gamers 2, I think it's really going to be on Perks. I think Sven, Mithy, and Expect are very consistent in playing, where Perks kind of, it depends on how serious he feels the game is.
Right.
He really has to dial in on, this boot camp. He really needs to be productive from it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think G2 need to step up a lot more than CLG have. Or maybe some of the other regions here. Like Sven and Mithy are probably the strongest duo to come out of Europe, and hands down. But from EU generally, this summer has been a lot weaker than NA, in my opinion.
Right.
I think a lot of the quality teams in Europe have kind of disintegrated a couple levels. So G2 are now playing against a higher quality as opposed to a lower quality of gaming. Actually, one of the things that I looked up is Gamers 2 versus CLG is actually going to be the first game of Worlds this year.
Okay.
And so I think that game is going to set the pace for both teams for the rest of the group stages.
I can agree with that. I think that I think it's closer than you guys predict. Like, you guys predict that it's going to be 60-40 either way. Clearly Christian favoring G2 and Jared favoring CLG. I think it's closer to 50-50. There are certain matchups where they're sort of even, like we talk about in the bot lane, Sven and Mithy, but I think like Aframu is a very strong, like when Aframu was strong, like his strongest points was when that we saw a 2v2 kind of style when it was standard lanes. I think he's a very strong laner, and because of that he can play very strong laning champions too. Like, he's a very good bard. Bards level 1, 2, and 3 are great. He picks very strong laning champions and can, he shot calls very well. And I think that Stixay is also a fairly solid AD carry to go with them. I don't think they're as strong as Ven and Mithy, like what Jared said, and, and what Christian said as well. But I still think it's closer. I honestly think it's 50-50 here, because, like, CLG during the regular season didn't do very well. But, like, the meta is completely different now. So, like, we can look at their the best thing we have is Immortals, but, like, Immortals tilted off the face of the planet like twice, and, like, my God, like twice they did. This guy.
Actually, I would argue 3 times. In the spring, twice in the summer.
Yeah, like,
that's true.
Lucian top. Like, we didn't get a clear read on the meta. Like, what? Yeah, but, like, CLG, I think, it's very hard to say, because even during, I think it was Monty said, like, during, like, the summer playoffs, like, no one really had, like, a very good read on the meta. They were just kind of assuming what was good based upon what was good before and what's good during 2v2 lanes, because people were still picking generally the same stuff. It's just, like, you weren't picking losing lanes anymore. Like, you weren't, like, gambling on losing lanes because, you're not lane swapping anymore. So I think we can't get sort of an accurate read about how either team is going to act, but I think both teams are very good in the standard lanes kind of meta, so I think it's closer to 50-50. That's sort of what I'm trying to say there. So
as long as he gets Aurelion Soul back for World.
That's true as well.
Are we still salty about that?
I'm sure he is.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we're going to move on to Group B. And Group B has the Flash Wolves, not the Yowie Flash Wolves anymore. I guess they've been the Flash Wolves for a while. SK Telecom T1, the returning world champions. IMA from LPL, and Cloud9 from everyone's favorite region, North America. We're going to go to Christian. Christian, tell me what you think about Group B.
Well, I think this group is going to be completely awesome, hopefully, based on just the 4 teams, it's going to be an awesome, exciting group. Yeah. And it's ironic. Flash Wolves took the spot from G2, the Pool 1 spot, and now they have a harder group than G2.
Yeah.
For the most part. SKT, the best Pool 3 team, because C9's far and away the best Pool 3 team. And IMA, who I'm not super familiar with them, but they're Chinese, and that means bloodbaths and really unpredictable games. So Flash Wolves definitely has their work cut out for them compared to G2, who only have, rocks and a tough matchup against CLG. That said, Flash Wolf and C9, they seem pretty close in skill. SKT, they drop games to Flash Wolves at MSI, so that could happen again.
Right.
I just think it's going to be a really fun group to watch.
Right, so I did a quick look up for IMEI, and they qualified on through the regional qualifier for LPL, and they beat World Elite 3-2. It seems like Amazing J just plays whatever fucking champion he wants, because he has one game on Poppy, one game on Nautilus, one game on Vlad, one game on Shen, and one game on Trundle. It seems like this team is actually pretty good. Like Jin Zhao, their AD carry, plays like 4 games of Sivir. Like this looks pretty good. I don't think they're so much of a slouch, but they only really had to play one game against World Elite. So as opposed to like Cloud9, who had to go through basically a gauntlet in order to get here. So Cloud9 had to work harder in order to get to this spot. So maybe they do a little better. Who knows? Probably should have added that in after Jared spoke. But Jared, go ahead. After I stole some of your time accidentally.
So I think it's kind of funny that if any number 1 seed was going to get SKT, I'm kind of glad it was the Flash Wolves, because like you said, they actually ended up going 2-0 against SKT because they didn't play them in the playoffs. Flash Wolves was the only region that actually beat SKT. Like never lost to SKT at MSI because Flash Wolves lost to CLG in the semifinals.
Right.
So we're gonna have to see how well LMS teams play against LCK. Historically, they actually play really well against them.
Yeah.
I do feel bad for Cloud9. They had a 1 in 4 chance of getting SKT, and they kind of drew the short straw. Out of all the teams in the pool 3, I think C9 did end up looking the best, being that 2 of them were international wildcard teams, and Splice, who they're playing well, but I don't think they're playing at like a Worlds level yet.
We can get there. We can get there later.
One of the interesting things about Cloud9 and IMEI is that they both went through their own regional gauntlets. Yeah. So these teams are more than capable and willing to put up a fight to rack up these nitty-gritty wins. With Meteos in the jungle again, I think it'll be a much more consistent Cloud9 than we saw last year. Yeah.
I comment on Monty again. I think he said that Meteos is actually like the weakest link of the team, not coordinating his ganks well. So if anyone really needs like some sort of like work, it's Meteos. I mean, he has been out of the game for a while, to be fair. I mean, he came back after like what, this season? Like he came in just for the summer season, right?
Yeah. They were supposed to get Rush in once he was allowed to get his NA residency.
Right.
They ended up changing that, so Rush went back to Korea, and they had to stick with Meteos.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think that they're going to try and do a lot during their pick ban phase. I don't know how much the meta is really going to shift from the tiny patch change, because 6.18 is what we're on now. That's the Worlds patch.
Okay.
For those of you who don't know, and so I don't know how much the jungle matchup is going to change between Rek'Sai, Gragas, maybe even the Zac coming out of Meteos. Yeah. I think Cloud9's going to end up picking Rek'Sai as early on as they can. From what we saw in the Gauntlet and from what we saw in the finals, that Cloud9 really struggled when Meteos couldn't get an alright early game. So I think they're going to need to play a much more aggressive early game with Rek'Sai and sort of go from there.
I agree. I actually don't remember if they put in any Rek'Sai nerfs. I'm checking right now because I can't exactly. Yeah, there's nothing here. Oh no, there we go. Yeah, 6.18. 6.18 it got something. It was the base armor and armor growth stat was reduced.
Oh, right. Yeah. They did. They actually kind of gutted that. Didn't they drop it by 4?
Yeah, 4.3. Yeah, that's. And then the growth was reduced by 0.25. So that's pretty significant. So yeah, the number at 18 is going to be significantly different.
Yeah, I think it's 7 less.
Yeah,
it's the early clear. That loss of 4 for the first clear. That's why Rek'Sai is so disgustingly good, is because her early clear, Elise's early clear, Gragas, they all have ridiculously good first clears, and they're toning back Rek'Sai's because her pick ban is 100%. So
yeah,
it makes sense. It's definitely a warranted nerf.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I still really, really want to see Lulu. But that's a talk for a different day. We're getting off topic. Okay, we're going to move on to Group C. And in Group C, we have Edward Gaming from LPL. We have AHQ Esports from LMS. We have H2K from European LCS. And then we have INTS Esports from the International Wildcard. So, Christian, why don't you tell me what you think about Group C?
This group, it seems like the most boring, quite frankly. EDG, you know, the way they've been playing, they're assumingly just going to completely dominate this group. I can't really see anyone beating them. AHQ, while they always do put up good performances at Worlds, they look nowhere as good as they have in the past. INTS is, you know, they're just a lackluster wildcard team. I expect them to just be free wins. H2K, they're boot camping, so maybe they'll fix some of their problems, but they're still really bad at mid-game and team fighting. EDG is disgusting at team fighting, so that's going to be really unfortunate for H2K if they cannot get ahead early. I think this group, like Group A, will come down to H2K versus AHQ. And at the moment, I can't like really decide who that matchup favors.
Right.
It seems fairly even.
Okay. Jared, what do you think? What do you think about Group C?
I think it is the most clear cut in terms of like #1 seed. Honestly, it's EDG's spot to lose.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
H2K, they've been looking really sloppy lately. INTS doesn't even look like it's a Worlds team, like at the level of EDG, H2K, or AHQ. You know, I think both the wildcard teams kind of drew into poor groups. Not that there was like an ideal group for any of them trying to. Even with Forgiven back on the lineup for H2K, I think it's going to be mostly on Odawame and Yankos to really like get the team to a point where Forgiven can kind of work out his positioning and try and carry their team fights. I don't really think it's too likely. From what we've seen from H2K, like they've won 2 playoff best of 5s in the entire year, and both of them were this year.
Yeah.
So it's just like, all right, they're doing all right. They're getting better, but they feel like there's still a lot of issues that are going on.
Yeah. So I did a quick look up of AHQ, mostly because I don't know, I don't watch LMS, but apparently they went 6-0 in their gauntlet.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's no one else in the LMS is good besides Flash Wolves and HQ. J Team looked promising, but then they just collapsed, and now they're bad.
But it looks like they play mostly these kind of high team fighting kind of comps. I mean, I've seen 4 picks of Gragas, 2 picks of Elise, 3 picks on Tom Kench, 2 picks on Ashe, like Ashe, Ezreal, Lucian, like Braum, Malzahar, a couple like one weird Twisted Fate pick. Because this game didn't have enough teleports.
Champ, isn't it?
Westdoor?
Or Westdoor, sorry.
Yeah.
Flash Wolves.
Oh, I thought Westdoor's signature champion was Fizz.
Yeah,
I think TF. Aren't those the big 2 that he has?
I think so. Didn't he killed Faker under turret with Fizz?
Yeah.
This like MSI last year, wasn't it? Or was it Worlds last year?
It was Worlds last year.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, that was awesome. That was sweet.
No, it wasn't Worlds.
What?
Was it?
Was it?
Yeah. I had watched.
Oh yeah.
Ironically,
Someone Google this. Chat.
No, it was
Hey, this is the first time. This is the first time I'm going to acknowledge chat on retake. Ayo, chat. Someone Google that for me.
I'm pretty sure it was quarters at Worlds last year.
Okay.
Because that's the only time they played each other.
Yeah.
It was definitely at Worlds because I was just going through the Penta episodes from last year's Worlds, and it showed up on there.
Yeah. All right. So with that in mind, we're going to move on to Group D. And in Group D, we have Team Solo Mid, Royal Never Give Up, Samsung, and Splice. So, Christian, tell me what you think about this group.
I mean, Group D, Group of Death, that's kind of the most death-filled group that we're going to have. This, however, along with Group B, are obviously the 2 most fun to watch. TSM, Splice, RNG, Samsung. All 4 of them look really good. Some more than others, obviously. Splice doesn't look too hot. But they do have the potential to,
There's that P word again.
I mean, it's valid in this case.
I mean, I guess.
If Mickey X gets barred, he can play that champion wonderfully. So
yeah.
Samsung and RNG, they did both look sloppy in their most recently played series. That said, those 2 series were against KT and EDG, who are two of the best teams in the world. So yeah, you're gonna look sloppy against them unless you're Rocks Tigers.
Yeah.
That said, Splices, they're all new to the world stage. I expect that to be a huge factor, and I expect them to suffer because of that. Again, maybe they can cheese a win, but they seem pretty just far behind the other three teams in their group.
Right.
And I also expect BioLift to take a bit of abuse, mostly Biofrost in that lane. He and Doublelift got 2v2 killed by both CLG's bot lane and C9's, and neither of those two lanes are notorious for being hyper-aggressive, amazing lanes.
Right.
Whereas RNG has Uzi and Mata, if he returns to form, that lane is disgustingly just good in lane. We all remember Imp and Mata from Season 4. They destroyed everything. We all remember Uzi in Seasons 3 and 4, where he literally solo carried both of his teams to second place at Worlds. So, but again, it's going to be a really fun lane or a really fun group to watch. So I'm excited for it.
So, Jared, tell me what you think about Group D.
So yeah, I'm super excited to see how this goes. One of the interesting things that I remembered about Samsung is that maybe like a month ago when they were talking about what Korean teams are going to end up going to Worlds, everybody was just like, oh, it's going to be Rocks, SKT, and KT.
Always.
Everybody was like, KT.
Yeah.
Then they lost. And it was just like, how? And then they lost to Samsung, and I'm excited to see how Ambition does.
Yeah.
He's been looking to really get into Worlds, and now he's like there.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to see how he is going to perform on the world stage. I think TSM kind of has their work cut out for them. They've been really good against other North American teams, but throwing them off their norm has seen like negative results. You got to remember that these are best of ones in the group stages.
Yeah.
So pulling out different regional strategies out of like China where they go for a bloodbath, or coming out of Korea where they just try and like out macro TSM, it could throw them off.
Yeah.
Honestly. I think Splice is going in to learn as much as they can about the world stage, but I don't really see too much coming out of them.
Right.
I think the first two seeds, they're going to be a little bit unpredictable, but each team might be bringing in something new to try and like throw off the other teams.
Right. I agree. I mean, according to this information I have about Royal Never Give Up, Looper apparently played Singed, and he won with it. I don't know.
Yes,
he played a game of Singed against EDG.
He had to. Come on.
That's his skin.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I guess. I mean, the other one. There's the other one. Oh yeah, Ambition played Skarner. And it's just like we're talking about like these weird picks and like these out of control things that might win them the game. And here I see Skarner and like Singed. Like
it didn't do much, mind you. Like he could have picked anyone and the game would have been the same. I mean, obviously it was a cool pick, but his laners kind of won that game for him.
Yeah.
So, still an awesome pick though.
Yeah.
And definitely refreshing to see.
So, with that all figured out, we've now talked about all of the groups. We are now going to move into our predictions. And for that, I got a little special surprise. I did a little bit of work. And hooray! Look at this new kind of like layout we got going on here. Ooh, look at this. Ooh, you can't even see it. Don't lie to me. All right. We're going to start with Christian's predictions here. We kind of already sort of touched on them, but I'm just going to go ahead and I'll read them out to you, just in case you don't have it open. And the people can see them right here. So we have Group A for Christian. First place is Rocks Tigers. Second place is G2. Third place is Counterlogic Gaming. And to the surprise of no one, Albus Nox Luna is in fourth place. And Group B, Christian has SK Telecom T1 taking first place, Flash Wolves taking second, Cloud9 taking third, and IMA taking fourth. In Group C, Christian has Edward Gaming in first, H2K in second, AHQ in third, and Ints in fourth. And then in Group D, we have Samsung Galaxy in first, TSM in second, Royal Never Give Up in third, and Splice in fourth. Christian, did you want to say anything about these predictions and anything, or? Yeah,
I mean, Group 1, or Group A rather, super straightforward, Rocks especially. And as for G2 over CLG, I just think G2 is better. I think Sven and Mithy have no business losing and they have the drive. They want to get out of groups. I also think, yes, Smithy's super good, but he's going to be playing on the his back foot the entire time.
Right.
Trick is unpredictable. He is smart. He is aggressive. So that's that. Group B, SKT first, straightforward as well. As for Flash Wolves over C9, I think Cloud9 is too dependent on Impact stomping his lane to win. And all of Cloud9's recent losses, if Impact lost his lane, Cloud9 lost just outright. I don't think Jensen and Sneaky are good enough in lane to carry Cloud9. And Karsa is disgustingly good. I think he's going to play Meteos really well. And Sword Art is good enough to carry NL, who's super bad, out of laning phase. That said, I think it's going to be either really close, and I expect to see a tiebreaker.
Okay.
And also, MMD plays Echo really well, and Echo counters Gnar, so that's going to be a huge factor.
Yeah, and Gnar actually saw some nerfs in the 618
That
patch,
too.
along with Frozen Mallet, so...
That's true as well.
Yeah.
So, anyway, just kind of continuing quickly. Group C, again, straightforward, EDG in first, obviously. I think H2K versus AHQ is going to be a tiebreaker. I'm like 90% sure that's going to turn into a tiebreaker. And I did get the edge to H2K, but again, I would not be surprised if AHQ took that.
Right.
Group D was the hardest group for me to pick. People always sleep on the Korean third seed, and I mean, look at last year. KT lost their first game and then stomped the next 5 in their group. I think Samsung will drop a few games, but I expect them to finish 4-2 in their group and take first. And I do expect TSM to convincingly take second place, though. I just think they have the macro that RNG won't be able to keep up with them. And Splice is Splice. I don't really think much needs to be said there.
All right.
They're a new team. I can see them, performing really well next year if they stay together, but this just seems like a solid experience for them, but I don't expect them to put up huge numbers, and I don't think anyone does, quite frankly.
Okay, that's just fine. Just shit on EU for basically your entire pickup. But that's fine. That's fine.
Hey man, I've got 2 European
teams. Okay. I'm gonna move on to mine. I'm gonna do. You know what? We'll do Jared's second. Jared, we're gonna talk about. Yeah. We'll do mine last.
Let me take it.
Yeah. Hey yo, I heard you like people shitting on EU. Let me tell you something.
Alright, so for Group A, it's obvious. Rockstar is not going to take first. There's no reason why they shouldn't. They look really strong.
Yeah.
They have Smeb as their top laner.
Yeah.
And with a lot of top laners being able to carry the Gnar, the Echo, even the Shen. Hanser ended up getting a triple kill in the finals in Shen, that last team fight. So we don't really know what Smeb is going to bring, but whatever he's going to, it's going to be a lot.
Yeah,
He's
sure.
going to, whatever he's playing, he's going to do really well. For my second seed, I actually believe in CLG. I am presenting the faith. I think if they can return to their NSI performance where they took second, they beat a lot of teams. They took a team off everybody.
You mean took a
they
game?
Took a game off
Yeah.
everybody. And I think that they can do it again. They just need to fix some of the stuff that they had in the boot camp, or some of the issues that they had over the summer. Hopefully they can fix it in the boot camp. Maybe it might be going back to playing best of ones. That might be their best style. That's when they looked the strongest, when they were playing best of ones. And I think it is really going to be a lot closer than it actually is between CLG and G2. It might actually be one of those tiebreaker games that really does matter. And Albus, they'll do okay. They might win a game. I don't. It's always rough for the international wildcard teams. I think.
I mean, Pain Gaming was the best we've seen, and they were boot camping in Europe. They were sometimes they would be boot camping in Korea, but we haven't seen any spectacular play from anyone other than Pain Gaming from these international wildcards. And we feel bad, and because I feel bad. We keep saying oh yeah, they're definitely gonna lose. Yeah, don't expect anything from them. We're just these people play professionally, and they put so much work and effort into being pros, and we're just yeah, they're shit. Just forget about them. Who cares? Free wins. Oh yeah, give me that money.
I don't think all the games are going to be complete stomps. I think they are going to end up losing a lot of games, due to a lot of late game shot calling.
Right.
Yeah.
That I think a lot of regions have over them, and it's going to be in the macro play, not necessarily in the general mechanics. I think they're all very skilled players.
Yeah.
I just think in that general team reference, the team play, I think that's where they're lacking a lot.
Yeah.
And then, so for Group B, SKT, I think they're going to get the first seed, hands down. I don't know if they're going to win this year, but out of Group B, they look the strongest out of the four. They looked a little bit shaky a couple games here and there, and they have lost to other Korean teams before. I'm actually going to go for NA. Again, I'm going to say Cloud9 is my second seed. If Meteos can play something like Zac, he can bring that back into the jungle. And in these best of ones, one pick off the meta could decide the entire game. And having a pocket pick like that provides so much pressure onto the other teams that it could really change a game unless teams are specifically preparing for it. And then I'm going to put IMA at third because I think a lot of the Chinese teams are being underrated this year because of their Worlds performance last year. And I think some of them, like obviously we aren't going to know until we get there. I don't think they're going to perform as well as all of the higher expectations. I think they're going to be mostly in the middle.
Right.
But we are going to have to see that. And then I kind of put the Flash Wolves as fourth. It could realistically be any change up between 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. It could be IMA, Flash Wolves, Cloud9. These teams I think are very close in level, and I just think that some of the pocket picks that Meteos has is going to bring them one step ahead. And then for Group C, I think EDG should have the number 1 spot.
Yeah.
I think it would be a very big surprise if they didn't take it. I'm going to put AHQ ahead of H2K because I think H2K have been looking really shaky lately, and they have a lot of work to do. I don't know if a boot camp's going to fix all of that, and Jankos can honestly get all the first bloods he wants, but that late game matters so much more.
Yeah.
Right.
Where in like 40-45 minutes, if you lose that team fight, if you get the clean ace just because of a pick, you lose the game.
Right.
And then for Group C, I feel bad. Same thing like Albus Nox. Like strategically, I think they're not to the same level that all of the other teams competing are. I think they have a lot of individual skill. I just think that they still have a lot of work to do to come up to these other players and teams. And then for the last group, Group D, I'm putting TSM as my first seed. They are the cleanest Western team, I think, going to Worlds, hands down.
Yeah.
As long as they can set their own tempo, I don't see why they should really have any issues. From what we saw in the finals against Cloud9, when TSM could set the game to very fast paces, Cloud9 struggled so much. They couldn't keep up with the pace TSM were setting with their rotations and macro play. And I think if they can bring that to the world stage, then they should be able to take the number 1 seed. And then Samsung and RNG, it's going to be very close between those two teams.
Yeah.
I put Samsung because I think Ambition's wildcardness, just from wanting to be in Worlds for so long, and he's finally getting his chance, I think he's going to outperform some of the other junglers in this group.
All right. So now we'll move on to mine. Mine looks a little different from some people. But for Group A, it's very similar to Christian's. I have Rocks Tigers in first. I have G2 in second. I have Counter Logic Gaming in third. And I have Albus Nox Luna in fourth place. A little hard to see. I apologize for that. But I think you guys can still see sort of the logos for each of the teams, so it's still easy to see. I think Rocks Tigers is easily, like, whenever you have the first place team from Korea show up to Worlds, it's usually just like a clear cut, like, okay, they're making it out of groups. Like, it's just very easy to tell that. Like, that's been a trend throughout the Worlds within the past, like, since I've been watching in Season 2. Like, if there's one... there are 3 things in this life that are assured: death, taxes, and the first place Korean team makes it out of groups at Worlds. Yeah. All right. So that already it doesn't matter even if they take second. Like, they're still making it out of groups no matter what. If they get second to G2, I will just burn all of my NA things. Like, every single bit of clothing and any sort of other apparel that I have of just like teams I've followed. Like I wanted to buy like a Liquid shirt, like because I love Team Liquid. So I put on the team. I'll burn that. I'll just burn it and just be like, EU, you win forever. Congratulations. Okay, but that's probably not going to happen. G2, I think looked just a lot better, just individual players over kind of Logic Gaming. CLG over the past, ever since MSI, kept just so long to adjust to the patch. Like even after they were adjusted to the patch and they were on sort of the same page as everyone else, they started practicing on the same patch as everyone else for about the same time as everyone else. They still came up short. And this is odd to me because they were at MSI and they did very well. And I'm not really comparing the technical play of CLG over the course of the summer because it's not really something to compare now. I guess what I'm saying doesn't really make sense. I guess what I'm trying to say is I can't judge how CLG is going to do I'm not judging CLG how they're going to do at Worlds based upon their actual play during the summer season because that meta's just gone. That's just not there anymore, and you can't count that because we're going into standard lanes. So it's more of how CLG has shown in the past adjusting to patches. And CLG, once they got into the groove back from MSI, because, MSI and Summer Split were completely different metas, once they started to adjust and, move back in, they still weren't doing very well. So, these huge changes could smell danger for CLG and not being, as good individually as G2. So, we'll have to wait and see. I still think the matchup is more 50-50. Group B, because I rambled on too much about Group A. I have Flash Wolves first, SKT second, Cloud9 third, and IMA fourth. IMA to me doesn't look very, very convincing. Flash Wolves just completely decimated their what is it, the playoffs? Yeah. They just completely decimated. They have very good picks, very good individual players. SKT, I don't know. A part of me just wants to rebel, and you can see that in kind of my picks. A part of me just wants to say look, man, Korea's great, but maybe they're not as good as we think they are, because SKT hasn't had the greatest of seasons. And, they did very well at MSI, but, they're not as good as Rock's Tigers. And, we have all these other great Korean teams coming too. Maybe they're out of form. I don't know. I'll have to do a little bit more research. This is just me. I feel like this pick is just me being okay, I'm gonna believe in the other regions, and we won't have a completely Korean dominated Worlds. That's kind of my mentality. Because, I don't know, I'm not up at, 6 o'clock in the morning to be oh, man, time to watch LCK. The Cloud9, I don't think they can beat SKT. And Flash Wolves have shown a very dominating performance in their region over their playoffs. So I think that's where I'm getting their kind of first and second kind of vibe. Cloud9 kind of just, Meteos being a weak link and, him, tilting super hard. Zach... I know Jared used it as a kind of a strength to say oh, it could be a wild card, whatever. I don't know. Sometimes wild cards don't work. They're a 50-50. That's why they're wild, Group C, I'm rambling again. Jesus Christ. Okay. If you guys have something to add, so, I'm not just up here talking about myself. Group C, Edward Gaming, AHQ, H2K, Ints. I think this is kind of reiterating a bunch of what Jared and Christian have already said, so I'm just going to move on to Group D, where I have TSM first, Royal Never Give Up second, Samsung Galaxy third, and then Splice at fourth. Once again, I think Royal and Samsung is a closer match, but I still think TSM is going to come out in first. This is my NA boy speaking. They're very good, really good. This is the best TSM we've seen. Yeah. So very good TSMs have made it out of groups. The best TSM might still have a better chance of making it out of groups. So that's just my logic. I don't know. We have a lot of very good players on here. Double Lift is very good. Biofrost has gotten a lot better. Bjergsen has been performing is the best mid laner NA, hands down,
Yeah,
no questions
hands
asked.
down.
Yeah, and Hanser has been stepping up his game and been carrying. Like, that's super sweet. Like, we have a very solid TSM. So pick one, very solid TSM. Second and third place can go back and forth between Royal, Never Give Up, and Samsung, and Splice is there. Oh, crikey, look, a snake! Like, but I think that's we're gonna move back to the original overlay. Now that I'm done rambling, Jesus, I just don't be quiet, don't I?
You are the host. So
Yeah, I guess.
It is okay.
It's my show. Just wham, get angry, like.
We're just the humble guests.
All right, so I think with that we can call it an episode. Thanks, you got. With that, we can call it an episode. So, give me 1 second. And that does it for today. I'd like to thank Christian and Jared for joining me today. If you liked our show, make sure to follow us on Twitch. Find us on Facebook. Find us on Twitter and YouTube. Make sure you follow, like, and subscribe. And also follow the Twitch stream. It's different words for basically the same thing. From all of us here at EGF, thanks for watching. You can join us whenever the next big Worlds thing is.
Yeah,
I don't know,
World
whenever.
starts in what, 2 weeks?
Yeah, so in a couple...
18 days?
18, yeah.
2 to
Well,
3 weeks?
we're going to take a big break, all right? We're not going to be back next week because nothing's going to happen. Unless you want to hang out. Like, we can just start the stream and be like, hey, guys, what's up? Like, haven't seen you guys in a while.
Nothing to talk about.
Guys want to ramble more about Worlds? That sounds fun. So,
Yeah, so Sneaky got Masters the other day. What else have we done?
right. It feels
Not much to
feels
talk
good, man. All right. So, thank you very much for watching. I'm Alex Shinkari Erdenberger. That's Christian, and that's Jared, and we'll catch you guys later. Bye-bye.
Bye. Come back.
Come back soon. Thank you. Come again. What am I doing?